Do you think Jey ever holds a singles title? I'm like 95% positive that he does.
Really?
Yeah. Like I'm that. Like I think they have. I think he's that big of a bit.
Welcome back to the Burning Hammer podcast. I'm Mark Izzo. This guy over here, that's Dillon O'Brien, and we are your hosts. Now, if you want to buy our merch, you can head over to the link in the description, and it'll take you over to tpublic.com. We got a bunch of super cool designs up on there, and you should sign up for our Patreon. $1 a month, and you can join the World Champion tier. With that, you get exclusive content, ad-free content, and early content. So we are coming off of Bash in Berlin, and we are looking straight forward to Bad Blood. But before we get into Bad Blood, we had a debut this past or on last week's episode of Monday Night Raw. We got a new announcer. Joe Tessitore made his WWE debut, calling the action, and I haven't seen too much of what the wrestling internet thought of him. I can't imagine it was great things, but we're going to get into like what we think that how we think he's going to fit into the WWE commentary situation and all that stuff. So, Dill, why don't you go over your initial thoughts of what you thought about him calling the action?
I think for starters, we can get into Sorry. I was trying to see what the internet wrestling community kind of was making of his debut. So I will tell you, it did seem like it was a good amount of mixed reviews. For the most part, people did seem to be like relatively pleased and optimistic. I think one of the biggest pros and one of the biggest things that I 100% can agree with that everyone said, he's got a great voice. Like he's got a voice 100% for commentary. And then I think it's just some of the things that he was lacking were not knowing some of the names of the moves. But it's also like this is his first time calling professional wrestling, and I will say this, like he went on like afterwards and he immediately like apologized after Raw and was just like, I know I could have done better. Like I should like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Like he was just like, he was like, it's a work in progress. Like, trust me, like over time, he was like, like, I know I could, he was like, I apologize to the fans. I feel like I could have done a little bit better tonight for my first try. But like he does seem genuinely excited to be there, and it seems, I mean, and he's probably easily the most like he has the best resume out of any commentator they've hired in quite a while, probably since Morrow. But yeah, with that being said, like wasn't great, didn't know the names of some moves. And you could tell he's still, like you said, Mark, and I saw a couple people on Twitter saying this, you could just tell he's used to play-by-play in other sports and just stating facts and being like, this happened, now this happened, now this happened.
Yeah.
But like I said, the pros, great voice. He does seem like he's not boring by any means. Like he has and that's been a huge problem with former commentators. I feel like that you don't have any like energy behind them. He definitely has energy, and he definitely isn't boring. I think it's just hard to give him a 100% fair grade at the moment. You know, going on a 3-hour show Listen, Raw is hard for me to watch every week for 3 hours. So
Yeah.
hopping on there for the call, like, I'm sure it sounds awesome, but by the time you're at the end, you're probably like, dude, this is getting fucking brutal. Especially for your first time out there. Listen, I'm happy that Pat is gone. I think that was the right call. I was pretty over Pat McAfee at this point. Lost his touch for me.
All right, there we go. Good little hot take for you.
So I'm like way happier about this than Pat being there. And like personally, like I think Pat was just starting to become like a weird look. Like honestly, like he's just like, I don't know. And I think he's just I think he was just like a little too like off the cusp, and like I think we needed somebody a little bit more serious.
Yeah, so like I was talking to my friend who's a big fan of Pat McAfee. And we were just kind of going like back and forth a little bit about how I was also just like talking about how I was like kind of getting old of him, and then I was just like, well, for me, it feels too much like they just plucked somebody out of the crowd and then just put him on commentary with like Pat. Like that's how I kind of feel like he is. Like I think he like you said, he's a little too off the cuff. Like I think he's obviously incredibly charismatic and energetic, and that's obviously very important. But like I think he's too much of like still in awe of like being on the call, and like he kind of like needs to just like settle in and be like, this is like what's happening, like I'm like doing this. Like he doesn't need to be completely shocked and like by like the bright lights and everything like that. But for me, I thought that like them, like obviously Graves and Cole being a pair is what they've been doing for PLEs. I was shocked when they were going to put them together on SmackDown, and then I was even more shocked that they were going to have Joe with Wade. Because initially I thought that was an odd pairing, and I think Wade's awesome. I think Wade is super underrated, and he doesn't get enough credit.
But I love Wade.
I don't think the pairing of him and Joe as a duo is the best, and I think that Joe showed a lot of great glimpses, right? Yeah. Like with the segment with like Drew, when like you can tell when like he was finally getting excited and showing some like a lot of passion.
It's Drew McIntyre in a hoodie.
That was awesome.
Dude, so like funny. The way he said it was like as if the hoodie was like the crazy part about it.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
It's Drew
McIntyre in a hoodie.
So I think like initially I wasn't really feeling him. But again, it's very early, and you got to just like give him some time. And I think he did show a lot of promise and potential, and I think he could turn out to be like a great commentator. Because, like you said, he's got a great voice, and he showed enough in certain moments of getting excited and showing passion. I think he just needs to get comfortable doing that, because you don't really do that a lot in other sports when you're calling them. Like if you're calling college football, you're not immediately just going to be like, oh my God. Like you just like need to get used to like doing that.
Play-by-play commentator for wrestling is definitely harder than any other sport, because you have to outline a story while also not making the crowd think that you're directly telling them this is what they should be thinking. And that, you know what I mean? You have to, and obviously Michael Cole has become so good at it over the years. So I think anything in comparison to Michael Cole also is just going to be like, I mean, we're talking about like probably the GOAT here at this point in Michael Cole when it comes to play-by-play for wrestling, in my opinion. I just think like the familiarity in his voice, and there's certain moments where, he might not be the best when it comes to, I don't know, Excalibur knows the name of every single wrestling move ever and stuff like that. But nobody's better at painting a picture of the story than Michael Cole. It's just you can't. And in my opinion, that's like the most important thing with the commentator. But with that being said, I think I think the places where he did lack are things that are 100% that can be improved. I think there's things that you can't like practice or just get, which is like the voice, the charisma, and those are all things he's got. So I think he's definitely like the most promising we've had in a long time. And hopefully, like I said, I really love his voice. Like he's got such great voice. So hopefully, over the next few months, hopefully, who knows, maybe a couple months from now, we'll be like, dude, Joe T, what a signing. Like, you know what I mean? It could absolutely. So you never know. So, I wasn't like over the top impressed by any means, but I wasn't upset with it by any means. I'd say a solid 7 out of 10, maybe.
Okay.
Solid 7 out of 10. And with plenty of room for improvement. And I think one of the biggest things is that, like he was very much like, oh, like this was the first one. Like I'm still getting the hang of this. I can't wait to master this. Like the way he talks about it is you can tell he's very excited to be there.
Yeah, and it's also something where it's like, how many times has someone called wrestling for the very first time and everyone was like, yeah, this guy absolutely rules, right? Like it doesn't happen because that's just not how it works in like wrestling commentary. Like you said, it's so different and it's so much like harder than calling other things because you have to call the action like it's happening right in front of you, but you also kind of know what's going to happen. And you have to, like you said, paint the picture for the story that's going on in front of you. It's not a situation of being like, oh, this person passed the ball to that person and he made the catch for the first down, and then I'm gonna read a stat about this quarterback's first down completion percentage. Like you have to like be in the moment, and like you said, calling a 3-hour show constantly like that is very difficult. But I think he showed a lot of potential. I think he showed a lot of promise. I think now we just kind of have to wait and see if he's going to improve or not. I know I told you, but I think that him and Wade could benefit a lot if they had a third person. I think that if they had like a Booker T, someone who's super energetic and charismatic on the call with them, could kind of help balance things out more, because like Wade, like I said, I love Wade, but he isn't the most like energetic, like screaming at a bunch of stuff. So I think like having a balance of like Wade being a bit more reserved but also still very good, and then you have Joe doing the play-by-play, and then you have Booker getting really excited. Then you can also have Wade being more of a heel and Booker being more of like the baby face. I think that
like
could
you said,
help everything.
I think a third guy would definitely benefit as well, because of it being that Joe T has never really done this before. And he's obviously super skilled when it comes to the play-by-play type of stuff. So if he didn't have to directly worry about also being a babyface, kind of, because that is also kind of his job with so if he didn't really have to worry about that, and like there was another color guy that could be the babyface to argue with Wade, you know what I mean? So he didn't quite have to, and then he could be more of the mediator.
And he could also just state like more facts like that too. It'd be kind of easier.
That could benefit him, but also probably wouldn't learn as quick. You know what I mean? So they're kind of throwing him into the fire, and he seems really up for the challenge. Like he doesn't seem nervous, or he seems excited. So that's good.
Yeah, and it's also like you got to think about like the moment that he's coming into wrestling with like all of the storylines, and like wrestling's potentially the biggest that it's ever been, and he's coming in like the middle of it, all this stuff with like the bloodline, and on Raw specifically he's got all this stuff with Judgment Day, and he's in the middle of this like this super this super feud with Drew and CM Punk, and then you obviously have everything going on with Gunther. So it's definitely not the easiest position to be in, but I think like from what you said, he's obviously skilled enough, and it seems like he's got a passion for this to be able to see what things he could work on and then actually work on trying to get better at this. So I think at the end of the day, you can't sit here and judge him off of his first time calling. You got to give him a couple of months and see if he improves and all that good stuff. But I think I saw enough potential in him. I saw enough glimpses of hope that I think he has potential to be great. So now it's just kind of waiting and seeing how that's going to work out. But we have a premium live event coming up October 5th, Bad Blood. And we're going to kind of go over some things that we think are going to happen at Bad Blood, getting into some matches that could take place for that. So I think first off, we're going to crown a new Intercontinental Champion, #1 contender for that title on Monday Night Raw tonight. And we have a fatal four-way. Jey Uso versus Pete Dunne versus Ilya Dragunov versus Braun Strowman. They had a tournament over the past week or two, and they're going to determine a #1 contender for this IC title for Braun Breaker. So Dill, I'll ask you this first. Do you think this IC title match will happen at Bad Blood?
No.
Okay. Who do you think's winning this fatal four-way?
All right. So it's like all signs point to Jey, right? But then it's also like, I don't know. Like, Jey can't just keep losing. Yeah. So it's like he can't just like, if he does win, losing in the title match kind of hurts him more than losing now would. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where I get really kind of on the fence. So I'm gonna say Ilya. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Ilya. I think Ilya is gonna get a surprise win, and then I think it's gonna main event a Raw.
So I agree that I think it's going to happen on a Raw. However, I think it's going to be Braun Strowman. I think that they're building up Braun as like this massive beast that he is, and I think that giving him a win like over someone who is literally a massive monster, honestly, is going to do a lot for him.
You kind of convinced me.
And they could also have Bronson Reed come back and kind of cost him that match as well, because he was originally supposed to be in that match, but he was out with an illness. But I don't think this match is going to happen at Bad Blood. It feels like when they do this kind of thing, it usually happens on one of the weekly shows. But right now, we had a few interesting things happen. So on Monday Night Raw,
can I say this real quick?
Say it.
All right. So with Bad Blood in mind, I do like the idea. You kind of convinced me.
Okay.
On the Braun Strowman thing. Like, I think that's probably pretty likely to happen. But with Bad Blood in mind, with Ilya winning, there's already history there between Braun and Ilya, obviously, in NXT. And then nobody knows how to play on their emotion and draw emotion out of the crowd quite the way that Ilya Dragunov does. And I'm not saying that nobody is as good as him at it. I'm saying nobody does it the way that he does it. Like, he is so emotional in a good way on his face the entire time.
Yeah.
I think putting him in a main event situation on Raw against Braun, going for the title, just let them have an absolute banger. Even with Ilya losing, I think you've been booking Braun as this beast, so I don't think it really hurts Ilya all that much.
Yeah.
But then I think you potentially have Ilya with an opportunity to build something more out of it. because of how good he is at playing that emotion with Bad Blood in mind. There's already history there. Who knows? Maybe we could get a rematch, second match at Bad Blood.
Okay.
And I'm saying that because I know you're such a big fan of Ilya as well. So I know I'm not saying anything that you don't agree with. And I'm sure tons of people feel the same way. Like, I think if you put him in a situation like that, I'm like, it's impossible to put Ilya Dragunov in a main event situation for the IC title on Raw and then not get people invested in that storyline. I swear to God, because he is going to get people so invested in, like, he has so much passion in everything he does. Like, he's so easy to get behind, in my opinion.
And he's someone who every match, like, you could just like look back at all of the matches that he's had since getting called up, and like literally after every match, they were just like, "Yep, that was another banger by Ilya. Yep, Ilya just put on another hell of a match."
It doesn't matter what he's doing. Like, you can just tell how much love he has for this man. Like, he has so much fun, and he just gives everything to every match. So that's why I'm saying, like, with Bad Blood in mind, I'm almost like, I almost want Triple H to put the ball in Ilya's hands and be like, hey, man, we're going to have you win this. We're going to have you go against Braun on a Monday. And we're not saying there's a good chance that might be it. That might just be the end of it. And we just want to give you guys a good match. And we think it could elevate you in a main event spot versus Braun. But I also think it would be really fun, the idea of, like, if Triple H if this is what they are deciding to do, to have Ilya win, and then Triple H is in a thing where he says, the ball is in your court now. There's a good chance this is probably going to be, there's a good chance we might not do anything past this, and we might have a different thing going on for Braun and for you. But who knows? Maybe you're going to do something out there tonight that we can't ignore and the people can't ignore, and we got to move forward with it. So, the ball's in your court. I think, I don't know. I just, like, maybe it's wishful thinking, and it probably is a little bit of that because of,
I mean, I could easily see that happening because, like, if you look,
I just literally don't see Ilya being in that match, and then it only happened. I feel like immediately after, everyone's going to be like, bro, we need, like, a part 2 to that. There's no way this can be over. Like,
and it's also like, if you look at the Fatal 4-Way, right? Pete Dunne's beefing with Sheamus. So obviously Sheamus can come, and Trick Williams is beefing with him too. So, like, Pete Dunne,
you know that you can't beat me, Petey.
You could probably get him out of the match. And then Braun Strowman's obviously beefing with Bronson Reed. So, like,
bro, can we talk about that real quick? All right, we'll talk about it after.
And then you could have Reed call Strowman in this, and then that leaves Jey Uso and Ilya, and then you can obviously just have Ilya, like, easily win this match because there's going to be so much going on. So, like Ilya can easily win this, and then he could easily main event Monday Night Raw against Braun, and that is a match that I can't think of off the top of my head, but I'm sure that was a main event for at least one NXT PLE, maybe even more than that in the past. So, like, you're getting a main event worthy.
Didn't he take the title off Braun? No, he took it off Melo, right?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I think he took it off Melo.
But, like, yeah, I mean, Ilya could easily win this Fatal 4-Way.
Ilya has definitely gone, like, there's definitely been several matches. I know for a fact that Ilya and Braun have gone out against each other for the NXT title. I just can't remember who had it. I just can't remember if it was Ilya was the champ or Braun was the champ.
I feel like it was Braun, but I mean, dude, like, that's like, I mean, that's gonna be a match because that would be a match that main events Monday Night Raw most likely, and that's a match that easily, like you said, that, like, once it's done and, like, Braun gets the win, people are gonna be like, what a main event! Like, they gotta run that back. So I mean, either way,
like I said, Ilya's just so good at getting people invested, man.
Yeah, and, like, I don't know, like you said with Jey, like, they're just kind of, it feels like they're waiting for him to, like, reunite with the bloodline stuff for now. So, like, he can't really keep getting these losses if he wins and then loses to Braun.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it just makes. I just think him losing to Braun would just kill so much momentum.
Yeah,
for Jey, that like the little momentum he has left, and I love Jey, and it's not on him at all. Like, honestly, he's done such a great job at keeping people invested in him when he's basically just been floating around doing nothing for the last since fucking Mania, basically. So, but he's been doing a really good job, man. So we'll see. I love Jey, so I really hope. So this is my thing too. The longer we go, the more I'm pretty convinced that, like, obviously, like, we'll get the Uso reunion, like, for the Bloodline story and everything, but I'm not all that convinced that that is just going to lead to, like, the Usos being back together as a tag team.
Oh, really?
No. I'm like, dude, I think they like Jey on his own, and I think Jey likes being on his own. Like, and I think Jey is just like, and I think Jimmy's probably cool with it too. Like, I don't know. Like, Jimmy has, I don't know. It just seems to me like, I don't know exactly what the plan would be for Jimmy then.
So,
but I don't know, man. And I don't think Jimmy would view it as a thing of like, to me, just Jimmy doesn't seem to mind that Jey is in that spotlight. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
obviously not in kayfabe, he obviously minds. But behind the scenes, it doesn't seem like Jimmy like necessarily like wants to be in the spot that Jey is in. Does that make sense? I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to be in the spot that Jey's in.
Not that he doesn't want to. It just he seems like very okay that he's not.
Yeah, I think so.
Like, I think he's just I think Jimmy is more just like, he's married, like he's got the kids at home. Like, I think he's watching his wife do his thing. He's watching his brother do his thing. Like, he's not, like, to me, he doesn't seem like the type of guy to get. I also don't know him personally, so he just doesn't seem like he just doesn't seem.
He's not jealous.
No, doesn't.
He's not jealous of Jey. I think he's probably more happy for Jey, like you said. But I think I think they go back together. I don't get how they wouldn't get the Usos back together and not have them run it as a tag team. However,
I think Jey is. I think they maybe just keep him on separate brands as single stars just to keep them apart, because I think they just want Jey by himself.
I think they'll get. I think they could do both. I think they can have the Usos run it together as the biggest babyface tag team currently in wrestling, and then still have Jey go out there and do some single stuff, kind of like how they did with like FTR a few months ago with Dax kind of just going on a little singles run, but they would still do tag team stuff together. Like, I think they can do both. I just think there's like no shot that they're not going to have the Usos reunite as a tag team when they go back together.
Like, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm more just saying, like, I don't think this necessarily means like, oh, the Jey singles run is done.
I agree. I think you'll still get some single stuff, but like, they obviously view him very highly, but it's like they obviously don't view him highly enough to put a singles title on him.
Right,
you know what
now,
I mean?
No, bro.
But
right
like,
now, now, it's because he's in the storyline with the Bloodline, so they're like, we can't put his title on you yet.
What about before? When he's the biggest babyface?
He's still one of the biggest babyface. I'm telling you.
I know, but like,
I wouldn't be surprised if Jimmy took more of a managerial role.
Okay. With Jey?
With Jey. Like, just like ringside for Jey type shit.
Let me ask you this. Do you think they missed?
Jey is on the cover for Raw, bro. He's got like the number one. They just released top entrances. Number one entrance. Obviously, it's still like, it's essentially the same song that the Usos had together. So the entrance will probably be even better. But still, it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but imagine you throw Jimmy out there. I think they're still going to reach that height.
I just find it so hard. But it's like, But where else do they have to go? Like, they've already main evented WrestleMania as a tag team. Like, they've
break some more records. I don't know, win some tag gold.
I'm more just thinking, I don't see. Do you think Jey ever holds a singles title? I'm like 95% positive that he does.
Really?
Yeah. Like, I think he's that big of a bit. I don't think. So this is my thing. I'm like, bro, you got to pay attention. And obviously, you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. But like, other than Cody Rhodes, who's the biggest baby face with the kids, bro, it's Jey. Yeah. Like, nobody is bigger than Jey. Potentially bigger to some, potentially right there with Cody.
Yeah.
Honestly. When it comes
not
to
a big gap between them.
Like, seriously. When it comes to, like, especially the kids, like the under 13-year-olds. So, like, I just think, like, literally, I just look, like, from a business perspective, I'm just like, I think Jey as a singles wrestler is just too big of an asset for them for him to go back to tag team wrestling. Not just like think, ever, obviously they will go back eventually.
I just think that everything they're getting with this singles Jey run, they can get with Jimmy as a tag team for the Usos.
I agree, but then you're giving up a single star for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think I think he could still do singles action. I think he's going to do both. Like, I think he'll still wrestle dominantly with Jey or with Jimmy, but I think Jey will also wrestle some singles matches at the same time.
Like, yeah, but they've always. I don't think it's going to be though. You know what I mean?
Have they though?
Yeah, like, it's always been like, I don't know, on a random Raw, they're in a storyline with the New Day, and instead of a tag match, it's Jey versus Xavier Woods in 1-on-1.
I just think that. So I'm not fully convinced Jey's going to win a singles title.
Word.
I think it could happen.
I don't think you're completely wrong for thinking that, because
I'm just worried
there's a lot
they missed the opportunity.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in. I understand what you mean in the thought that, like, there was really good opportunities to do it by now, and they haven't done it. Yeah. I just think they're still waiting for the end of this bloodline story. Yeah. And I just think they got faith in Jey to just stay over.
Yeah.
But who knows? We should probably move on.
So we actually got I didn't see this one coming either, but it looks like Sammy could be up next for Gunther.
Yeah, it looks like. Do you think this happens at Bad Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, feels like it, right?
Yeah.
Feels like they let Sammy build this a little bit.
Give him a month. Let him cook in another feud. And then he's going to go help the bloodline.
Let me tell you, man.
Tell me.
Putting Sammy in a world title feud is dangerous. It's dangerous.
It sure is. We saw that with Roman. Man.
Putting Sammy up for the world title is dangerous. If you're going to keep doing it, you're going to have him go over eventually.
Going to have to pull the trigger.
Like, and I understand it's not going to happen right now, but I'm just saying, Sammy's going to, like I said, if there's anybody, like I said, right up there with probably more than Ilya, and obviously in a very different way than Ilya. God, does Sammy know how to pull emotion and get us invested in something? And I think it's going to be really difficult I just think we've seen it before. It's dangerous. And I think they're setting themselves up for potentially Sammy becoming the most over babyface in the company again. And then going into WrestleMania season being like, what is Sammy doing? Because he's the most over babyface in the company. And now, is he going to have to take the title off Gunther 2 years in a row? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Obviously, They don't have to do anything, but I'm just saying. I think it's Sammy is like he's just so over.
Do you
it's
think
like
he ever wins a world title?
He has to. I don't think they would put him in this situation right now if he doesn't, because, like I said,
just give him at least one world title run for the love of God.
They will, because, yeah, like I said, like I don't think they can keep teasing it if they're never going to give it to him eventually. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And you talk about a good first I guess second challenger. But like maybe a better story for Gunther, like up next from Randy, then we're going straight to Sammy. Sammy dethroned him at Mania for the IC title. Come on now. And then, like, obviously Sammy's going to lose whenever they wrestle, but like you could kind of
think this is a two-parter? Multiple-parter?
Let's see.
Probably not, right?
Nah.
Because of Sammy going into the Bloodline story?
Yeah, so like I figure once this is done, we'll be in October. Then we're gonna start to get things moving with him in the Bloodline, heading into Saudi and Survivor Series. Maybe, like I could see Sammy taking the title off of Gunther at some point. As to when, I couldn't tell you, but like I don't think he's a bad bet to take the world title off of Gunther at some point next year. It's just like, I mean, like you said, like
not a bad bet at all.
You're going to keep having this problem where you put him up against the biggest heel in the company, and then he's going to become the biggest babyface, and you can't just keep having him lose before he gets that big win. And like this feud is going to cook. So I'm very excited for this.
And Sammy's just never going to not like, it's too late to turn Sammy heel again.
Oh, they can't. It's like
that's what I mean. Like he's the biggest. He's one of your biggest baby faces of the decade. Like,
I mean, he's one of those guys that you probably should have never turned heel.
No, but if they didn't turn him heel, he wouldn't have become as over as a babyface as he is. You know what I mean?
That is true.
It was necessary.
Yeah, but he was also a massive babyface in NXT. Like, I think he had everything. I think it helped jumpstart him. I think he could have still become a massive babyface booked properly. But
yeah, I think it's more just the Bloodline storyline just brought him to new heights is what it was. Because it's like,
you're right.
It's like the Bloodline story.
So we have...
But even then, he was never fully like heel when that was going on. Like he was, but it was like everyone was like, come on, Sammy, you can be doing more. Yeah.
So we got oh man, as it stands right now, we're recording this before the Friday Night SmackDown on September 6th, just so everybody knows. So in case anything develops with the Bloodline stuff, we don't know about it quite yet, but I mean Solo said he's got next. Whoever wins between KO and Cody, he's got next. So are we getting Solo versus Cody at Bad Blood?
I think there's a good chance probably at this point.
I agree.
Where it goes, that's the real question. Yeah. Where it goes is the real question. So, what matches do you feel confident? Do you feel confident that it's going to be a 5-match lineup again?
No, I think they hit 6.
6?
Yeah.
So, what matches do you think we're getting for sure?
I think we're getting Sammy versus Gunther for sure.
Okay.
I think we're getting Rhea versus Liv.
For sure. Yeah.
I think
it's time for Damian versus Finn. I think there's probably a good chance we get Damian versus Finn.
I think that's another good chance. I think they could do the Judgment Days, the WWE, or the World Tag Team titles.
Okay.
As well. Because they were talking about how they haven't been defending them. I forget which team it was off the top of my head on Monday Night Raw.
Mm-hmm.
But they were complaining. I think that... I don't think the WWE titles will be on the line. The tag titles. I don't think that the women's tag titles... Man.
Punk versus Drew, obviously.
Punk versus Drew, probably Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, that feels like we need something. Bro, did you someone on Twitter was like Punk versus Drew gonna be the first match to have a gun in it. I was like, bro, for real. Dude, this is like the most heated rivalry ever.
I know. I mean, and let's take a brief moment to talk about this. You talk about a feud that I don't think anyone was expecting to cook as much as it did. Like when CM Punk debuted and we were kind of going over feuds, and like I think this was one that surprised a lot of people, is like going off as hard as it is. I mean, it's the hottest feud, right?
It's the best feud of the year. It's the best feud of the year.
I mean, and it just goes to show how, I think it shows more about how good Drew truly is to be able to stand on his own in a feud with CM Punk. Like, man, this feud is so awesome. So CM Punk versus Drew, Hell in a Cell. I think Gunther versus Sammy, World Heavyweight title. I think Liv versus Rhea, Women's World Heavyweight title. So that's 3.
Probably Cody versus Solo.
I think Cody versus Solo. I still think Roman versus Jacob Fatu.
Okay.
I got to LA Knight.
Yeah.
LA Knight.
Yeah.
But what I guess Cody would have to main event in his hometown.
Yeah.
But it's hard to put a Hell in a Cell between Drew and Punk. That's got to probably kick off.
Probably, yeah.
So, man, I don't know. It's tough because like also with the stuff with the bloodline story, like Solo is trying to go after Cody, but obviously you have Roman still in the picture, so it's like, is he just gonna let Solo go after the WWE title? Like Roman still has not spoken. Maybe he cut a promo this past episode of SmackDown. That's kind of like when we thought he was going to speak for the first time. But man, I mean, it's tough to kind of like, because they have like 2 different storylines in the same storyline going on. So it's going to be tough to kind of like figure out when certain things are going to happen, because like at some point the bloodline story is going to just like dominate PLEs for like the foreseeable future. And so like right now we've got Bad Blood, we have Crown Jewel, and then we have Survivor Series at the end of November. So I think like now we're really going to start to get this bloodline story cooking moving forward. So I mean, what are you feeling good about like that sort of like grouping of matches? Do you have any other ones that you think could take place?
I mean, I think there's a chance that they put Braun on the card. But I do feel pretty good about those. Maybe Nia Jax and Bayley.
Yeah.
They could do that on SmackDown. But I do feel pretty good about that card, honestly. I think a combination of those people. But I'm pretty positive on Sammy Gunther, Liv, and Rhea, Punk and Drew, either Hell in a Cell or Last Man Standing, or maybe First Blood or something like that. I don't know.
First Blood would be sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, because I think, yeah, those 4 I feel at the very least very confident about. I think we're hitting 6 for this. I wouldn't be surprised if we hit 7 at all. But you guys let us know what matches you think are going to be taking place at Bad Blood. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. If you want to watch us talk about who's going to win the next title for the every WWE Championship, then you need to check out our previous video. And if you want to watch us react to your guys' wrestling hot takes on Reddit, then you need to be on the lookout. That video is dropping this Friday. With that being said, I'm Mark Izzo, he's Dillon O'Brien, and this has been another episode of the Burning Hammer Podcast.